Hello, readers. Welcome to another reading class with me, Miss Taylor. I am glad you're here. Whoops, there we go. Alrighty, so welcome. Welcome to reading class. So let's see, are we ready to read? Do we have our textbook? Got my textbook. Do we have our workbook? A bookmark or a pencil to follow along. Do we have our workbook? I've got my workbook here and a pencil. Remember, we're going to track with our finger. We're going to try to read each word carefully. We're going to pay attention to end marks and some of our goals. We're going to read with accuracy and expression. We're going to understand what's happening in the story. We're going to make connections to characters' feelings. We're going to enjoy the story. All right, some things to keep in mind. There's all these things happening as we are reading, which is just really neat to think about and start to be aware of. We're making connections, we're visualizing. Um, so last time we were imagining and kind of visualizing what would it be like to all of a sudden see springtime and have warm weather and sunlight after being in the darkness of winter um, up in Alaska with Umu and Ulak. And so in the last story, they were feeling really happy because it was April, it was springtime. So we were visualizing what that might have looked like with the flowers coming out and there's still snow on the ground, but also making connections to how that would feel after a long, dark winter. We would feel really excited and happy to see the warmer weather and more sunlight. So we are asking questions, we are summarizing. So kind of just thinking, what happened in that story, and kind of telling the main idea. We're predicting and inferring and synthesizing. So many things going on in our brains as we read. So, like usual, we have our vocabulary sentence and some word lists. We have a nonfiction passage, and then we have our main story, which is fiction, our review items, homework, and then we're going to read for 20 more minutes sometime throughout the day. All right, so before we do this new vocabulary sentence, we have our kind of the first vocabulary sentence we had was the horses became restless on the dangerous route. And the last sentence we learned is this one: scientists do not ignore ordinary things. Hmm. Scientists do not ignore ordinary things. So, everyone, what do we call highly trained people who study different things about the world? Scientists. Nice job. What word tells about things that you see all the time? Ordinary. What word names what word means that you don't pay attention to something? Ignore. All right, let's say the sentence together. Get ready? Scientists do not ignore ordinary things. Nice work. All right, now our lesson for today, lesson 14, the dangerous season. That's our nonfiction part. And then our fiction part is about Usk, the polar bear. All right, so here is our word list for today. Scoot my picture out of the way there. All right, would you please follow along with me? I'm on page 68 in my textbook, so please open up to page 68. All right. And word one is nudged. What word? Nudged. When you nudge someone, it means you kind of like bump them a little bit. Nudged. Word two is scrambled. What word? Yeah, things that are all kind of scrambled, they're all kind of mixed up and scrambled. Word three is growling. What word? Word four is tossing. What word? Word five is jacket. What word? And word six is playmate. What word? Nice job. Let's try it the fast way. Nudged, scrambled, growling, tossing, jacket, playmate. All right, good work. Column 2. Word 1 is tumbling. What word? Okay. And when things are tumbling, they're kind of rolling over and over. Like tumbling, like you might go tumbling down a hill. Word 2 is hitch. What word? And when you hitch two things together, you attach them together. So if things are hitched, they're kind of connected. Word 3 is ridge. What word? A ridge is a long strip of land that is raised above the land around it. If you walk along the ridge, you walk on the long raised strip. If you get off the ridge, you will go down one side or the other. So a ridge is kind of like a part of land that's kind of high above the other land around it. Word 4 is hind. What word? Remember that means like the back legs of an animal or the hind legs. Word 5 is fur. What word? And word 6 is icy. What word? Let's do the fast way. So we're in column 2. Tumbling, hitch, ridge, hind, fur, icy. Nice job. And column 3. Word 1 is snowdrifts. What word? Word 2 is dangerous. What word? Word 3 is slowpoke. What word? Word 4 is repeated. What word? And word 5 is playful. What word? Nice job. All right. So now let's go ahead and find part B. Miss Taylor's going to turn our lights back on. Let's find part B in our textbooks. Here we go. And part B, the dangerous season. All right. So we are going to read the next part of our story about Umu and Ulak, but first we have some information, and this gives some facts about spring in Alaska. So follow along with me. I am on page 68, the dangerous season. The animals in Alaska are most dangerous in the spring. The male animals are ready to fight anything. The females have babies in the spring. After they have had babies, they will fight any animal that bothers their babies. Very protective, those animal mummies. Everyone, in which season are animals most dangerous in Alaska? Spring. Okay, so the males are ready to fight anything, and the females will they will kind of fight things that are trying to bother their babies. They're protecting their babies. All right. Polar bears are dangerous. So are wolves and walruses. The picture shows two animals fighting on the beach. So everyone, what kind of animals are those? Those are elephant seals. Are those male elephant seals or female elephant seals? They're male elephant seals, aren't they? It's kind of that interesting nose, kind of big bumpy nose. What are the females doing? They're lying on the beach over there. The winner of the fight will keep his place on the beach. The loser will have to find another spot on the beach. The loser will probably have to fight another seal. So the winner of this fight gets to keep his spot on the beach. And the loser of the fight is going to have to find a different spot on the beach. Remember, these animals are most dangerous in the spring. So that fact is important in a story we're going to read. So they are most dangerous in the spring. All right, let's go ahead and find part C in our textbooks. And we are on page 69. So part C. Please follow along with me. Usk the polar bear. Usk, Umu shouted. Usk, you big hill of white, where have you been? All right, so it kind of seems like she knows this polar bear. And does she seem afraid of the polar bear? She's like, Ask. No, like they're friendly. And this bear even has a name, Usk. The huge polar bear stood up and wagged his head from side to side, kind of like a dog. He was nearly 3 meters tall when he stood up on his hind legs. Ooh. So 3 meters, again, if you stretch your arms out kind of as far as they go, that's a meter. So 3 meters would be like taller than the ceiling. Hmm. Imagine an animal so big that it could not stand up straight in an ordinary room. So if there were a polar bear in here in our classroom, he would probably have to duck his head. Ooh. Umu started to run toward Usk, but then she stopped. She remembered that her father She remembered what her father had told her last fall when the days were starting to get short. Her father had told her that Usk was no longer a bear cub. He was a full grown bear, and full grown bears are not pets. Hmm. So she's kind of remembering what her father told her, that Usk was not a cub, not a baby bear anymore. Now he's a full grown bear, and they are not pets. So her father told her that um, in the fall, and now it's spring. So she's remembering what her father told her last fall. Now Ulak was standing on the ice chunk next to Umu. Wow, he said. Usk has grown a lot since last fall. Yes, Umu said. Usk is beautiful. She was right. Usk's coat was white, so bright in the sun that the color hurt Umu's eyes. It was like so bright it hurt her eyes. Kind of reminds me of sometimes in Minnesota after we've had a big snow and everything is all white. And then you go outside and it like hurts your eyes because it's so bright. All right, so imagine that huge bear standing before you and is so bright and white and tall, 3 meters tall. Can you visualize that? Can you paint a picture in your mind? As she looked at Usk, she remembered the first time she had ever seen him. Hunters had shot Usk's mother 3 years ago. Mm. Usk was just a baby, no bigger than a puppy. Hmm, that's sad. When Umu found Usk, he was very skinny and he could hardly move. For months, she fed him milk from a bottle that she made out of animal skins. Usk grew bigger and bigger. He became the best playmate that anybody ever had. He loved to run and wrestle in the snow. He slid down steep snowdrifts head first. He slid down them tail first. In fact, he would sometimes slide down them as he turned around and around, with his legs sticking out in all directions as he swept a wide path down the snowdrift. Can you imagine that? This big polar bear coming at you and just spinning all around? All right, so he was a very playful cub. As Umu stood near the great bear, she found it hard to believe that this same bear used to fit inside her jacket, or that this bear used to sleep on the floor of her winter home. Hmm. So now she's like, whoa, he's so big now. I can hardly remember when he was little and he used to sleep on the floor of our winter home. Usk had been Umu's friend for over 2 years, but last fall something about him changed. He still liked to play sometimes, but at other times he didn't seem to be interested in Umu or in being with her. Hmm. So he's changing, he's kind of growing up. Us would go off by himself and walk along the high slopes, sometimes howling into the air like a dog. Sometimes he wouldn't come down to see Umu for 3 or 4 days at a time, and each time he came back, he didn't seem as playful as he had been the time before. Hmm. So he would kind of go off for 3 or 4 days and come back, and he wasn't really as playful. So maybe he's just getting older and he's going to act more like a bear now and not so much like a little pet. Right. Let's see. One day in the fall, another polar bear came over the hills. It was a young male about the same size as Usk. Usk attacked that bear and drove it away. That was the day that Umu's father told her and Ulak not to go near the bear any more. Usk is a bear, her father had told them, and bears do what bears do. They are not pets. Do not go near Usk any more. He could hurt you. Hmm. So again, Usk is not acting like a playful cub anymore, and their father doesn't want them to get hurt. Umu stood there on the ice chunk looking up at Usk. She remembered what her father had told her. So she's on the ice chunk. It's springtime. She's remembering what her father had told her in the fall. And that was to stay away from Usk. Okay. So I wonder if she's going to stay away from Usk. What do you think? Are you doing some predicting? Is she going to listen to her dad? All right. So during this whole story, Umu had been standing on the ice chunk. She's been remembering different things. So she's kind of thinking back to, oh, remember when Usk was a little bear cub? And remember what happened last fall when he started kind of acting more like a regular bear and not so much like a pet? And then remembering what her father had told her last fall to stay away. Uma wanted to run over and give that great big bear a great big hug. She wanted to bury her face in his heavy white fur. She wanted to slide down the slopes with him, but she just stood there smiling. "Hi, Usk," she said. Her brother repeated the greeting. So she's like, "I want to hug you, but I'm not supposed to." Usk dropped to all four legs and lowered his rear end the way he always did when he wanted to play. So maybe you've seen dogs do that, where they kind of get down and wag their tails. All right. Please read the rest of the story to yourself and then get ready to answer a couple of questions. If you aren't finished reading, please pause the video, then you can finish reading and press pause again and finish listening to the lesson. So I have a couple of questions for you. Everyone, what did Ulak throw at Usk? A snowball. And then what did Usk do? Ran after Ulak. Was Usk mad? No. So they were running from the ice chunks toward the beach. And who was running first? Ulak. And who was running after Ulak? Usk. And then who was running after Usk? Umu. How do you think Umu's father would feel about this game if he saw it? Probably wouldn't like it, would he? Because remember, they're supposed to stay away from Usk. All right. So what's next? I would like you to reread the story on your own. You're going to read it one more time on your own. And then you're going to answer the questions at the end of the story. And those questions for today are on page 71. You don't need to write these down, but you should know all of the answers. So if you kind of get stuck, you can look at the answer key. I kind of took a picture of the answer key so you can check your work to make sure you can answer these questions. Kind of the different parts of the picture here. And then you're going to complete your workbook. So today it's pages 25 and 26 in your workbook. And then you're going to read for 20 more minutes. And that's it for today. All right, so enjoy reading the story on your own about Usk, the polar bear, and I will see you again soon.